It is now that hour, so we'll open the meeting of January the 5th, and we'll do a pledge and a little moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You know, I think it's rather interesting that we're still able to do the pledge. You know, who knows when that's going to go away. And I often think I can't talk to Bob, can't talk to Doug. I'm starting to talk to the deity more. I wonder if, is that called collusion also? Am I allowed to talk to him that much? So, because he's chairman of the main board, right? Okay, let's have a roll call. Looks like everybody is here. Public comment. Anybody have any? You know, give your name, address, phone number, birth certificate. Morning, John.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is John Matthews, 17629 166th Street. I come before you to give praises to your employees. I know in the past 6 or so months, you've had issues that were, I'll say, considered a negative issue of working with employees and whatever they can bring. But this last week, I lost an article of personal property and gave up on trying to find it here on the property outside. Without saying anything to any of your people, the employees down in the Planning and Zoning Department came together, gave me some assistance, and even after I left, one of them didn't give up, and they found my lost property. To me, this is very commendable, where these people basically treat you like family. That's all I have to say.
Very good, John. We like to hear that.
Thank you, John.
And I'm sure they like to hear that. Anybody else have any comments? Oh, I thought David
was going to
yeah.
give a public comment. I wanted to hear this.
I got all excited there. Okay. Yeah, nothing wrong with a little humor in life. Administrative business, since there are no more comments.
We do have a request from the Alliance Against Family Violence. You received a copy of it, to issue a letter of support to them to apply for a grant to the state. So we just need the board to authorize the chairman to sign that letter of support for them.
Okay. Did anybody have any problems with us?
I don't. Are you ready for a motion, Mr. Chairman?
I'll handle a motion.
I'll make a motion that the chairman sign a letter of support for the Allegiance Against Family Violence to apply for a grant.
Okay.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I just had one little bit of discussion. They got our 55. They got 50 from the city. And do we know anything? Not that it's something that is extremely important to us, but I just wonder, where are they going for the grant? To the state?
Yeah, it's the state. It actually goes to through the Attorney General's office. This is the grant that they've received in the past, but they hadn't applied for it yet this year because of
right. Okay. Thank you. And are we happy with the letter that was?
I saw no issue with the letter.
How much is, if I might ask, how much is the grant for?
That I don't know. don't know how much they'll get from the state.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. How do you vote? Doug?
Aye.
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 David, don't hop up when I say other comments. I thought you were going to say something and. Oh, you're leaving the, oh, that was good, Dave. God, I love that. Okay, where was I? Okay. Any other, yes, Bob?
I've got administrative business. I've got a letter here that was put in my inbox I'd like to read.
Okay, go ahead.
This is pertaining to the State of Kansas Office of the Attorney General, Derek Schmidt, of a coma complaint against Commissioner Holland and former Commissioner Bixby.
Okay.
It's addressed to Mark Lawfrey, County Administrator, 300 Walnut Street. Enclosed, please find a copy of our letter to Janice Van Paris concerning her complaint filed with this office alleging multiple violations of Kansas Open Meetings Act. This copy is for your records and information. Normally, we would direct our communications to David Van Paris as Senior County Counselor, as he provides legal representation to the county and the commission. However, because this complaint involved allegations related to the termination of Mr. Van Paris' employment, we were concerned it might present a conflict of interest to send this letter to his attention. We were unable to discern whether Roger Mars continues to fulfill any intern county counselor or assistant county counselor duties. Therefore, we concluded it was appropriate to send this letter to your attention, Mark Lawfrey. For reasons more fully described in this letter, we conclude there was no violation of the coma except that we regard one area involving notice of special meeting held on December 30th. In other words, when I called for a special meeting, I didn't reference that it was going to be in this room. And that was the main complaint, and it actually was no complaint. So I just wanted to read that, and kind of like you did yours.
Right.
There's people file complaints against us, but sometimes there's nothing to them. So I wanted to read that. Also, I did some work on, we've been Facebook or tweet or whatever they do. I have looked up our legal bills, which I've been keeping track of, and admin that goes with this lawsuit, the settlement now agreements, and we're now over 900,000.
Oh, shoot, I thought we were going to be over $1 million.
Well, if you'll remember, I did say that
I know it.
that we were going to be over $1 million, but this is not over with yet.
Oh, no.
Right?
Not over to the fat man sings, right?
Right. So that's all I have.
Okay, sounds good. And that was real critical on the, where you didn't call the meeting. I mean, that's.
Yeah,
I'm saying that in jest, okay?
No.
Okay, Doug, you have anything?
Just that, got a complaint on the property on Bayside Drive about the commercial building that's abandoned now, and the grass is not being cut or anything. And this came up last year. We don't have any property standards or codes in the county.
We can't make them cut the grass. Or, well, I guess, who owns the property now?
It's
Is the bank?
some,
is it
no,
back to the bank?
no, it's an individual.
An individual still
Yeah,
owns it?
yeah, it's for sale, it's for lease or rent, whatever. And it's,
Taxes been paid? Do you know?
I'm sure they are. But, you know, the person I talked to or that sent letters to the commission all had a resolution or something that, you know, but it would have to cover the whole county, I believe. Maybe Mr. Van Paris could help us on that.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. clarification with respect to the, I'll refer to it as the Bayside property that Commissioner Smith referenced, stating that the property was not being, the grass on the property was not being mowed, and that they believed it was excessively high, and that they had mowed it themselves. The county does not have any standards with respect to the height of grass on property. I would suggest if you're going to consider such standards that it be on a countywide basis as opposed to a spot, a singular piece of property. If a singular piece of property becomes a problem, i.e. a common nuisance, property owners adjacent to that or impacted by that nuisance can seek private legal remedy against it. As of right now, I am unaware as to whether the property would constitute a common nuisance or not, but generally the county has not adopted standards with respect to how you cut your grass or whether you mow it on a frequent basis or not at all. So we do not have any current standard to act on that request.
Is this commercial property, as I remember,
That's
from
correct.
last year?
Yes, that's correct.
And so being commercial property, would that put them outside the realm of being a farm property? Could we?
Commissioner, I'm unaware of the use of the property as right now it's referenced as commercial property. So let's just say it is commercial property. We don't regulate agricultural uses. We don't regulate the height of grass on commercial properties.
Well, I've always,
Well, what I'm thinking of is, can we on commercial property? Well, I know we can't on farm property, agriculture property.
well, I think we probably could, and I'm really very envious of city of Leavenworth. I mean, they have 3 or 4 pages of things that, you know, amendment for, or charge for this, charge for that, and we need to have more charges. I like the private aspect. You take it to court. But see, somebody wants us to do it, and back in the 40s, it would have been, you know, our houses are evaluated, and I know this is insulting to somebody, at, you know, $45,000, so, you know, we got to do something. No, we didn't have that problem. But now people are coming in, are they in a, what do you call it?
Subdivision.
Subdivision?
Yes, sir.
Can't they have subdivision rules?
There is none. There is no HOA, I guess.
Well, couldn't they do one?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, but
I
they
haven't
could,
heard of any.
No, I haven't heard of an HOA there.
No.
they could do one, couldn't they?
They could. I think they could.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, your question?
Could they develop an HOA?
The county does not have the authority to.
No, I mean, but the
Could they?
homeowners there.
They could establish it as to whether it would include that commercial property is questionable.
Well, you know, everything's questionable.
In the grand scheme of things, yes.
Yeah, everything is questionable. Isn't that amazing? What
I
a
don't
lot-
know if they, I doubt if they could include that property in an HOA unless the owners of that property voluntarily entered into the agreement.
Well, it's apparently the owners of the property have become worthless owners.
It's stated in the communication that they are uncommunicated.
Yes. Well, I really don't want to set up a policy that we do. I think we got too many policies already. I think it'd be worth their while to check your statement and take it to court and see what some judge, you know, may take him a year or two. You know how judges are. Might take him a year or two to make a decision.
Grass will be pretty tall by then.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
Frost would get it.
Ross to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Anyways, just
Yeah,
throw it out there.
Yeah, it was a nice letter, and she, I think she did a proposal of, but this wasn't to you and I anyway.
This was last year's proposal, probably.
Yeah, $250 plus price of mowing or something like that. But this was to Douglas
And that's why I brought it up.
and Mark Lowry and Director of Planning and Zoning, Jeff Joseph. So it wasn't to us.
It wasn't us, so
We don't have to be concerned about it, I guess.
I think we do.
I'll let the individual know that you discussed it and that at this time the board's not interested in moving forward with
Yeah.
property
Nothing.
maintenance guidelines.
Well, if we had to move forward with it, would we have to go to court? Or Could we go to court? I don't know. I think our hands are tied.
I mean, as far as adopting a countywide policy on mowing.
Well, you couldn't do a countywide policy because there's a whole lot of brome fields out there that need cut right now.
That's what I'm saying. You couldn't.
You know.
That's why the board in the past has chosen not to.
Yeah, I think our hands are tied.
So
So the best remedy would be an HOA.
Or, as Mr. Van Paris suggested, they could go through the courts system and have the courts address it from a nuisance.
I think that's what the courts are for.
Okay.
Okay. Any other administrative business? Consent agenda. Anybody have any questions on the first item there, or the approval of minutes?
No, sir.
No, I don't.
Okay, I have a couple.
Of course.
Question. We took a vote, 2-1. Several times, 1-2, 2-1. On expanding to a half mile, did they say what they would charge for going for one person to go from quarter mile to a half mile?
Well, the quote we had last week, of going from a quarter mile to a half mile was $7,700 for all the properties impacted. For a single property, it'd be between $500 and $600.
Is that something you wanted to send a single individual, Mr.
Yes.
Smith?
Yes, it is.
I think we're treading on.
See, that's sort of a negative, is
That's
it?
a no.
Well, that's the property owner that received all the letters from the county staff in the past. And they had problems with the blasting the last time. They have,
What can I do about that alcohol plant up there in Atchison?
what's that?
What can I do about that alcohol plant in Atchison?
Probably nothing as a Leavenworth County resident.
Because I sure occasionally get the odor down here.
Do you?
Yeah.
I do too, and I'm closer than you are.
Yeah, you are. Y'all always got it out at the farm.
Yeah, when you were out at the farm, you did.
Well,
Don't think they're getting much odor from the quarry, I don't believe.
a little blasting.
Yeah, there wouldn't be much odor there, I wouldn't think. Unless you can make it into a landfill, now that might give you some odor.
Well, I think it's you might want to do a motion. It's probably going to fail. I mean, I'll pass that on as advice, but you'll feel good. Did you want to do a motion, feel good, or you?
Well, yeah, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that the county would pay for a pre-blast assessment and a post-blast assessment of the Kellogg property located across from the Tonganoxie Quarry.
And that was for $600 to $700,
I think it was $500 to $600.
$500 to $600. Isn't it amazing? Well, I bet it's closer to $600 when it's all over with. Did you want to second that?
No.
Well, God, I don't think I do either. Did you want me to second that?
It's up to you for discussion.
Okay, I'll second it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I don't see why we have to do it for one person. And if half a mile's been acceptable all these years, why isn't a half a mile still, or a quarter mile is acceptable all these years? Why isn't a quarter of a mile acceptable now? Why does a half a mile have to be acceptable? Or 2 miles? You know, pretty soon we're going to have to notify everybody and do it in Leavenworth. I mean, it's just because one person needs to be notified and wants his home inspected to make sure there's no damage afterwards. It looks to me like it's Well, this was broke after the blasting.
Yep.
Well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
That's why you do a pre-blast assessment, and a post-blast assessment.
You know, I think what we're not realizing, personal opinion, which I'm entitled to, the county is a neighborhood now. It's not a county. And you got different people moving into the neighborhood. And that's what it is. We got a variety. And these people are part of the variety, which is all right. But I'll call for a vote. How do you vote?
No.
No?
Aye.
Very good. See if I had one here. You know, I got through with the public comment. Oh, go ahead. We're doing this as a privilege, not anything special, because we don't have this for open.
Thank you very much, and I do appreciate that. My name is Karen Kellogg. I live at 24009 Sandusky Road, Tonganoxie, Kansas, adjacent to the Tonganoxie Quarry. We have lived there for 36 years, and Mr. Holland, I will tell you exactly what my objection to the quarry is, and it's the same thing that I objected to the last time they were blasting. When they blast, first of all, last time there was no seismic monitoring. This time, at least, there is seismic monitoring. I don't know what the blast plan is. I would like to see a copy of that. There are restrictions. Some of them that are legal are still very disturbing to the neighborhood because of the effects that it has on the ground and on the structures. I will tell you that last time they blasted, the ground shook a half a mile away and more. It rippled the water in our pond, and the windows vibrated. That is not pleasant to live with. And I'm pretty sure that if your house felt that and your family felt that, you would not be comfortable with that. And that's my objection.
Okay. Well, you know what would be nice? How many people are within a half a mile? There were 17 additional properties that would have to be evaluated. But how many total people? We got 1,000 people?
I believe there was, off the top of my head, I want to say there was probably about 10 that was in that quarter-mile, and maybe another 17.
Okay.
I noticed that it said a half-mile radius, and the letters specified adjacent to the property. Our property is adjacent to the quarry. And even in the proposal that Ham sent to the county, it says adjacent to the property. Or actually, not that, but in the letter Mr. Spickelmeyer sent out for the proposal, it's adjacent properties. Our property is adjacent. And I can tell you, up and down our road, there are 7 properties just on Sandusky Road that are adjacent to the property, the quarry property.
I guess where I would go, are you suggesting we never open the quarry again?
No, sir. I'm requesting a pre- and post-blast assessment as we requested in our correspondence and in our phone calls with Mr.
Okay.
Spickelmeyer.
Well, just wondering, you know, because there's always a action that can be taken. We can never open it again, and then we don't have this problem at all, ever. We don't have to spend $13,000 or $9,000 or what the figure is, because we're trying to get roads developed, and they get the gravel a little cheaper, I guess. We had the same problem with the state, wanted gravel back in, I don't know what it was, in the 80s or 90s, and they were getting the gravel for I-70, much cheaper, so it was a benefit. And I I guess we have somebody from staff that comes forward and says, we need to do this, and we will do this, so.
We never requested that the blasting, that the quarrying stop. All we have requested is that the blasting occur at a lower level that is not disruptive to the neighborhood.
I understand that. So, I don't know, you can approach Ham and see if they can do it at a lower level. I don't know what they say. You know what we could do? We can use prisoners. By God, I didn't think of that. Let's get them out there, and I'm serious. Let's get them out there with a goddamn hammer and let them break up rock. You know, we don't do anything else with them, but feed them good. So, but we'll take that under consideration, and if we come up, we'll let you know right off, okay?
Thank you, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Thank you. Come forward. Okay. I was greatly concerned what we did last week to the business that was applying for a special use permit. And supposedly planning and zoning didn't have enough information. But we had enough information. Now we have delayed their special use permit. They can still go ahead and operate.
They're still operating.
Yeah, but we have delayed it, so they got to come back. We got to listen to it again, and I really don't think it is something we should have done. We had the information. You know, you got to be a small business person to understand how all these things affect a small business. And in my personal opinion, I think we should have okayed that special use permit. We took the easy route out. To me, that's the easy route, or route, I guess it is. And we passed it back to the planning board, and we should have okayed it rather than going on, well, the planning board didn't have all the information we had.
I think it's very important that we be on the same page as the planning commission, especially when it's a vote like that.
Well, yeah, but look at all the things we have approved, and when I say we, I don't mean just us.
Right.
On back the line, all the things that we approve, and
Well, I think out of respect to the volunteers on the planning commission, you know, I think we owe it to them to look at it again.
well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think as much time as I spent reading what I read, I think that's a cop-out when you can say, we didn't get that to read. I watch people come in at the city level and all different levels, and I see them just reach for their packet
Do a quick
when they're coming
read.
into the meeting.
Yeah. Well,
You don't reach for a
isn't that-
packet when you
Some
come in.
people are that way.
Well-
And you can find them out pretty easy.
Yeah, you sure can. So,
If they don't know what you're talking about, they
Exactly.
can find them out.
so
right.
that was just an expression that I think that's something we shouldn't have done. We did it.
Well, I kind of disappointed in planning and zoning a little bit.
Yeah.
Why wasn't this information given to the board?
Yep.
Why wasn't it? That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to give this information in a packet to the planning board.
Right.
Well, I think just to be clear, the issue came up during the planning and zoning meeting, the planning commission meeting. The questions were asked during the meeting. They weren't asked before. There weren't any complaints registered prior to the meeting, so they came up during that meeting. So the staff then, after the meeting, went out and researched it and got the answers. They didn't know that there were going to be complaints about traffic or noise or whatever, because nobody voiced those prior to the meeting. So they went out after the meeting and researched that information. That's why
Okay.
it wasn't available.
Okay.
Okay. Next is approval of schedule for next week. Any questions on that?
No, sir.
Bob?
No.
Just curious, how many fireworks stands we usually have in the county? Anybody know?
No.
This is the first ones.
Right, and they come in every year.
Yeah.
Same ones.
Same ones.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of curious. And on Thursday, there's an LCDC meeting. Anybody going
I
to
will
that?
go to that.
Very good. let's talk checks that have gone out. Page 1, uniforms. That is a lot of money for uniforms. I mean, we have EMS, we have sheriff, sheriff was forms.
Transcripts and forms.
But the EMS in their uniforms, you know, it's rather interesting. I don't see anybody in here in a uniform, but they have their uniform on.
Mr. Herring, I believe, is wearing one.
No, that's advertisement. But uniforms, everybody goes to work, wears a uniform. The ladies go and whatever they do, they want to be presentable. The guys go, they have a uniform they wear. Maybe a shirt and tie, coat and tie. We've gotten off on this. We don't have, the firemen don't mow their yards anymore like they used to. Of course, they didn't have yards. They were in City Hall, here in Leavenworth, City Hall. They were on 7th Street in another building. There was nothing to mow. But it's amazing, and if you question that, they have an answer. And the answer is, we're studying so hard to where the location of all these houses are. So there's a lot of studying going on, and but we'll never get away from that again, because it's just taxpayer money. Ham's Quarry on page 3, well, it's really 81,000. Just passing that on, let's see, there was a good one there on, well, it says 171,000, but that wasn't all utilities, that's all total. 24,000 for waste equipment, 5 containers. Is that at the transfer station? Not at Tonganoxie. That's on page 5.
The new roll-off boxes.
It is. Yeah, those are the new, that's for the, not at Tonganoxie, that's at the landfill.
That's for the
Or not the landfill, the
transfer station. And what is on page 6? Is that just, that's just a total, that 108,000, right?
Yes.
On page 4, there's,
If you look at the bottom of everything that's on page 5 on the bottom 3 quarters, and the first item on page 6 are all one item. It's the Commerce Bank cards.
Okay, what'd you start to say, Bob?
I say on page 4, I see we have another legal bill.
Page 4.
Anderson Bird,
15,000.
15,265.60.
We've already approved it, they just paid that.
Yeah,
That was,
yeah.
this was, the check was cut.
But for the month, it was $892,164.13 for the total, just to show you how money goes, where your taxpayer money goes, good, bad, or indifferent. Check register, and there is one OCB, so I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that the chairman sign and date the OCB.
Okay?
Just a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Yeah.
We'll address that issue.
Oh, is it on the consent
Yes, it
agenda?
is.
Yeah.
I thought you meant
No,
it
no,
was
no.
separate.
Excuse me, no, I didn't.
I'll make a motion then, I'll redo my motion to approve the
Consent agenda. There you go.
consent agenda.
There you go.
And then that includes the OCB.
Yes, sir.
I'll second that.
How do you vote, Bob?
Aye.
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 Okay. Next item I have is consider motion to award a bid to Lina Weaver Construction on 182nd Street in the amount of $415,334.10. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Public Works is seeking approval to award the 182nd Street project to Line Weaver Construction. Bids for the project were opened on May 2nd. The county received 6 bids on the project. The low bidder requested to withdraw his bid due to an error. So we are requesting the award go to Line Weaver Construction in the amount of $415,334.10.
Okay.
Project will be funded with RIF funds, TIF funds, and sales tax proceeds.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve $415,344.10 to Lina Weaver Construction.
I'll second it.
Discussion, anything?
The 120 days, that's going to put us into October.
Yeah, but I've talked with Line Weaver, and they expect to have it done prior to that.
Before the late September seal?
Yeah, before it gets too cold to put the chip seal on.
Okay, so rain days count against this 120 days? It's included in? Okay, so it'll be done this year, 2 chip seals before October?
That's the plan, yes.
Okay.
We're going to be moving right along.
You have any things that you want to add here?
No, I'm kind of like Doug. I'm kind of concerned that it's going to get done or not.
Right.
I have, I think three things.
Okay.
What was the error? Just curious.
He priced the wrong gauge of culvert pipe.
Okay. I did take a tour when you mentioned pipe. I'll put that under another subject. I don't want to confuse the issue and bring up 4 or 5 things just because the thoughts come up. So if you'll remind me before we adjourn, I want to discuss McIntyre.
Okay.
Now, you won't know what the subject is, and I probably will not have remembered. I was, the Angel excavating was removed. Now, so I'm very selfish. Lina Weaver bid, Lexical, Julia's Cause, Miles, and Kansas Heavy Construction. Where are they all located? In
Leavenworth County.
Man, I had such an emotional problem, I almost went back and had cake and ice cream. I was in the mood to celebrate that our people came in and did some good bidding. So I wanted to express my pleasure of those individuals coming out and doing some good bids, because there wasn't one but even Angels came in at, it would have been interesting what they would have bid if it had been, they probably still would have been in, but where are they located?
Where's Angels located?
Yeah.
In Leavenworth County.
Leavenworth County
Up
too?
by the Tonganoxie Quarry,
Oh my God.
within a half mile.
Still would have been elated, wouldn't it? So that is good. So, how do you vote, Doug?
Aye.
Aye.
You know how many years I've been waiting for that vote?
Go ahead.
2007 was the first meeting we went to about doing this road.
Or is it-
2007.
Yeah, but they
If
didn't.
we'd have done it then, we'd have already had to redo it, huh?
Yeah, but didn't have us 3 up here.
I guess not.
Yeah. There was a lacking. Okay, the next item is 127th Street. Don't forget McIntyre.
We'll get to that one next, McIntyre. Public Works Department has started working on a dust abatement on Gilman Road. Our plan was to do Gilman and then head south down 127th, where it will eventually tie in to the McIntyre Road project. I provided the board with 3 pictures of different locations along 127th Street. The photos with the cones in the photos show that the existing rock road is 18 foot wide. The right-of-way we're assuming through there is 40 feet. Through most of that stretch of road, once you hit the edge of the road, you have a bluff on each side. So widening that road out to 20 or 22 foot wide, widening that road out will be difficult. May involve some utility relocation. We'll have to get locates done to make sure there are no utilities. So we wanted to show the board that we do have roads where we're going to be limited on getting that 20 or 22 feet wide, such as this road here.
Anybody have any?
There's no way I would ever vote for an 18-foot wide road.
I think, let's, just to clarify it all, obviously the road that's there is 18 feet. What we're talking about is through the dust abatement program, we're looking at doing chip sealing in place.
Correct.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about.
Right.
That paving an 18-foot section, and I say paving, I mean the chip seal, but paving an 18-foot section, that therein is the discussion. It's not that we have an 18-foot roadway because it's already there at 18 feet. We
Right.
just
Say,
improve
not
it.
making an 18-foot road.
Right.
I know, but you also don't have a dump truck with a snow plow that's 12 foot wide going down there
Right,
trying to
and that-
remove the snow on
Right.
it.
It's the improvement to a paved surface of an 18-foot roadway that has been asked to be brought up for discussion.
Well, you know, so what you would be saying is we widen the road, we remove
Well,
the banks.
we-
His thought process.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you got a road that's you just need to cut the banks down.
Then we're going
Get the
to need
width.
easements.
That's right.
Well, that's why Coffin Road went
Yeah.
down, because they didn't want to give up the 10-foot easement.
I think the conversation, and Commissioner Smith and I have discussed this, was that if you have these sections of road like this, that this then road would not qualify for the program. We would move on
Right.
to another road
Another
that would
program,
qualify.
right.
Not that we're going to stop the project and go get right away and move utilities, but that this section of road just wouldn't qualify.
Right.
Right.
We have a little over 400 miles of unpaved roads in the county. We certainly have other sections of roadway that would be 22 feet, that we could get the 22 feet out of for
Right.
the improved sections of road.
Mhm.
And that's what we had discussed. I just
Yeah.
wanted to-
And then when the traffic count gets up to where it needs to be built, like 182nd, that's when we do it. But I don't want to see it go another 11 years.
Well, I guess the biggest problem with that road is people are using it to a shortcut. Is that what I'm constantly
Correct. That's
hearing?
why it's on our list of options now.
What's the traffic
It's,
count?
just under 200.
It's not that
And
many
it's heavy,
people.
but
No.
it's an incredibly high number of heavy vehicles.
Yeah.
So their percentage of heavy vehicles is in that 70 to 80%. So that's
So we
why
want
it
to put
hit
heavy vehicles,
why it
big
went
trucks on
onto
an
our-
18-foot wide road.
onto our area. They're
Well, it's
correct.
gravel.
It's there. So we're trying to minimize the dust that folks deal with. The road has changed, the traffic has changed with the installation of all of the commercial down in that area of Lansing. And this was an excellent test pavement area, which is why it came up on our list. Maximizing our width there, we could push 20. But going to 22 would make it unavailable to this section of roadway until it's a improved project as opposed to a surface improvement installation. So I encourage you to consider not limiting how many roads we could improve the surface on, but maybe the approach of that minimum width.
No way. I'll never go for an 18-foot wide road.
Well, I'm not
top.
saying, I just said the 20. The 20
No
foot
way.
would be available.
22 would be the minimum. 22 is the minimum.
A question, why are the heavy trucks going that way?
We have the transfer station as well as the industrial park at the end of basically Gilman and the city limits. And so it's where the city limits and county limits meet is where a lot of that vehicle
Isn't there
traffic goes
another
to.
way they can get there to the transit?
They're coming down Highway 5,
Mhm.
coming down McIntyre, and coming in the back way. So instead of going over to K7 or taking 5 and coming, instead of staying on the highways where we'd like them to stay, they're cutting through there as a back way to get in.
So it's the heavy trucks that are really creating the problem.
It's, yeah.
Well, I don't know. It's not-
Majority of traffic on that road.
Oh, yeah.
But it's only
Is that-
200 cars a day.
Yeah, but that's, I wouldn't call that a problem. I mean, that's just usage of the road.
Well, if we close 20th Street down, people find another avenue to get out to,
Right.
and,
Just to keep the big trucks from going down 20th Street.
yeah.
I was down there 20th Street yesterday and followed two big trucks.
It's a
But
nice
They're
road.
not allowed on 20th Street.
Oh, but I followed them down 20th Street.
God, Bob, I don't know how you did that. They're not allowed on there. That's, why don't we,
I wasn't in one of them.
I know it. Why don't we post that? No, but
I think it is posted.
No commercial truck signs are out there. I mean, we know people ignore those signs.
Well, they're on
no.
the blacktop roads
They're only
too.
ignoring it for one reason.
Can't enforce it.
Can't?
No, sir.
Why not? You put a sheriff's deputy out there and put a goddamn
It's
$1,000.
not a state statute, it's a county resolution. Sheriffs can't enforce county resolutions.
You can't write a ticket.
He can't write a ticket. It'd have to be a state statute. So them signs are worthless.
What do we put them up for?
I guess to spend money.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to take them all down then. If we can't enforce them, why put them up? You know,
Well, this is a conversation we probably ought to have with the sheriff, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on this.
I'm sure I've heard him say that.
And I've put up and maintained a lot of them over 35 years. And you can't write a ticket.
what'd you do? Start when you were 10 years old?
Yeah, I sure did. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
I think, wait a minute, the county roads belong to the county, do they not? Why are we saying we can't enforce?
You'd have to have your codes enforcement officer out there with a yellow light instead of a red light trying to enforce it, I guess.
I was gonna say, there's got to be some way that we can
Yes.
enforce that.
Only on bridge weights and
I mean,
Administrator, would you have legal counsel and everybody you can approach to find out and give us an avenue?
I've already asked the county councilor to follow up on that, just to check.
So there was some collusion going on there when we were in deep discussion.
We're allowed to do that.
Thank you.
Um,
God, you know,
So the question then is that whether we want to limit the application of this program, the dust abatement program, and paved surfaces in general to a 20 or 22-foot width versus the 18-foot width. I think that's what Commissioner Smith has brought up. And again, understandably, we have hundreds of miles of roads that that the 22 feet would work with, but we don't have, we would just bypass these particular projects that we couldn't get 22 feet out of.
And I think this particular road is within Lansing's 3-mile radius. I mean, if we're going to do a project on it, maybe we could approach the city of Lansing to see about some cost share. Well,
they can't afford that.
that's too close of a road to the city to do an
Will you
18-foot wide road.
ask that gentleman right back there? If they don't have their own economic problems without us adding one, they're trying to.
I didn't say it would kill the project, and just that we should approach it that way.
Well, I think we should do the chip and seal, the dust, and we'll investigate. And maybe the sheriff will designate me, once we get it chip and sealed, as a deputy, and I'll sit out there and I'll guarantee you there will be no heavy trucks if that's legal. And you got to
I
put a
don't
fine.
know of anybody that's ever gotten a ticket over the years for a commercial vehicle.
Another thing, I've noticed a sign out there that says nothing half-ton truck only.
And that'd be in the city.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Right.
So a
Three-quarter
three-quarter ton truck?
It's them extra lug nuts on the wheels.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is it, 2 extra lug nuts?
Yep.
So staff is going to investigate the legality. We need a motion to go ahead with 127th, or is that just a discussion item?
I'll make a motion that we amend the 18 to 20 foot part of the resolution 2018-11 to drop the 18 foot and have a minimum of 22.
That's probably going to be another mile of road. So, you don't want a second?
No.
I don't want a second. So,
Well, let me go on record. I do not support an 18-foot wide road top. Never will, and it's just going to cause nothing but problems.
I didn't know you were against that, but I'm glad you.
Well, I spent almost 35 years out there, and we never put together an 18-foot wide road top and blacktopped it. We always got 24, 22, 24 on a 40-foot right-of-way.
But this is new policies now.
But you could still do it.
I don't, how are you gonna still do it?
Well, you'll have to
change policies.
Well, I'm sure the right-of-way, the fences are in the right-of-way. I'm sure of that. If you can't get it, the fences have got to be in the right-of-way. Because if you do a if you got a 40-foot road.
Is that right,
I mean, you
Sarah?
got a 40-foot right-of-way, you put a 24-foot road top in there, that still leaves you 16 feet. Leaves you 8 foot on each side of the road shoulder.
So in many cases, when you don't have bluffs, the 22 feet to 20 feet is very easy. We measured out some dust patches that we started maintaining. They're at 20 to 22 to 24 feet, but they have very wide open spaces on both sides. So during the development of the policy, a lot of roads were looked at and reviewed, and the 18-foot is worst case scenario when you have vertical bluffs, but we still want to offer up dust abatement and for roadways, so we're not limiting the availability of the program to the county.
Then I'd shoot chemical down instead of chip seal. Why do you want a narrow road right when you come up on a hill where banks are?
Well, can we enforce speed limits also?
Now, the sheriff can enforce the speed limit.
Whew. God, I knew he had a value.
We had another item that, as we were talking about this program, that we wanted to bring up, primarily because of the timing with the 147th Street project. As we've discussed in the past, Hollingsworth was one of the streets that we had identified as a road improvement program for next year. However, with the water line issue out there, we talked about just bypassing that and letting it go. With King's Construction out there doing the current project, we were wondering if the commission would entertain us going to King's and having them add this into there as a amendment to their agreement, basically a add-on item to go ahead and pave that section of road, but to pave it as one of these abatement programs, using asphalt instead of a chip seal, but there'd be no utility relocations.
Correct.
And we just do a similar improvement.
So part of the policy does allow us to review and entertain installing asphalt instead of chip seal. Asphalt does have a stronger capability as well as a quicker installation process. With that, there would be no real grading work. The compaction of the existing roadway base is there, so you can install the base asphalt directly onto the existing roadway. Now, when you tie in, you do have to tie in and create some grade work at the tie-in points at the intersections, but it's minor in nature. And then you would have the surface course that goes on top of that. So we were thinking that this would be an excellent area for the test pavement for asphalt to watch its durability as well as its installation means and methods. So we would like to bring that up and encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity that's at hand.
Is there a difference in cost?
There is some differences in costs. Over time, the asphalt installation has been documented to be more cost effective, has a higher upfront cost, but the longevity pays off long term. So that's where we're looking at the installation options and encouraging to do some test installation means and methods for us to review and watch.
So you're wanting to add 127th to King, what King's doing now?
Hollingsworth.
Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Hollingsworth.
So it's
So
right in their neck of the
jumped,
woods.
This would be a design build.
It would be
like
an installation, dust abatement.
A change order to their current agreement to allow them to extend the asphalt
Correct.
down Hollingsworth.
And make it 24 foot wide.
It would be 22. The existing area is
That would
22.
satisfy you?
Yes,
and-
sir.
What
Anything
happened?
under 22 is just wrong.
And we don't believe that, with the timing, we just don't believe we could get it done any cheaper than we would right now with the big project going on right next to it. They're already
Maybe that'll
Yeah.
stall them a little while we
So
have
they can
delays
Then
on the water
22
lines.
would be acceptable
Exactly.
to you?
Give them
22,
something else.
18 is acceptable as well, but 22 is acceptable, yes.
So we're running,
18's not acceptable.
we're running,
Not to me.
can you put that in the minutes, that 18 is not acceptable?
I wish it would, because I'm gonna harp on it till we're gone here. There's no way
I
we should
can
have
see
an
you up there with-
18-foot wide blacktop road. There's just no way. There's no reason for
I can see
it.
you up there with St. Peter right now on the harp.
Yeah, the road's paved where I'm going.
That's why I love you. You know
I
that?
have asked King's Construction if they would be interested in adding this. They said they would. So we can have them propose a change order request for this and bring it back to the board for consideration.
Okay, why don't
If
we?
we haven't done an 18-foot wide road blacktop in the last 40 years, why are we gonna start now? That's just crazy.
Well.
I mean, we all gonna start riding bicycles?
Hey, that's a good idea. You go over to Europe, see what they do over there. Yeah.
You know, you got signs up that says give these bicycles 3 foot, so if you got on both sides roads, you're taking 6 foot up for bicycles.
Well, and that's ridiculous because really the rules say the bicyclist is entitled to a full
So now we're
lane.
down to 12 foot.
Yeah, so, okay,
Never will support an 18-foot wide road.
okay.
I don't know how many times I gotta tell you this.
Yeah. Well, you gotta tell me just a little less.
I'll tell you every meeting.
7 months, just a little
18
less.
feet wide, bad.
After 7 months, you can do,
I'll still
Tell
call
the
you up
next
and
group.
tell you.
okay. So we skipped from 127th to adding something to,
No, Hollingsworth.
We're on Hollingsworth
So-
on a design build. You need a
Hollingsworth to
motion for
100.
that?
well, I know
Mr.
that,
Chairman?
but did we didn't finish 127th, did we?
You did finish.
Yep.
7th, yeah.
I thought you wanted a motion.
No
No.
motions.
Oh, that
required.
was my question.
No, I made a
He made a
motion to
motion and
amend the 18-foot out of the 2018-11
127th we're
resolution
good
and
on.
just leave it at
127th we're
22.
done with.
Yeah, and Hollingsworth we're good on.
Oh, no, we're not done with it. When we start having
And
wrecks
then-
and everything on
Okay.
it, we'll be
I'm
back.
supposed to remind you about McIntyre and the culvert.
Well, we still have one other item.
Oh, sorry.
We'll bring a
Yes.
a change order back on Hollingsworth for the board.
So you don't need a motion?
Not for that.
Okay.
Okay.
I wanted to compliment you. Where are you going?
No, McIntyre.
You don't want the
Road.
compliment. I was going to give you a compliment. You want a compliment? Sure. I thought you didn't want one. I really appreciated the photo gallery. That was much appreciated.
The photo gallery.
Yeah,
I do too.
yeah.
You're welcome.
And I really didn't want to, we already had one department get some compliments, and I really didn't want to. Now, McIntyre. I'm glad the sheriff wasn't there because it said the road was closed through. And I went down it yesterday. I don't know if that was legal or not. I also went into the industrial park. Don't know if that was legal or not.
Tonganoxie?
Leavenworth.
No, Leavenworth, no. I noticed quite a few on McIntyre entrances that I didn't notice before.
You mean in that first half mile, is that what you're?
Yes,
No, those are
All existing.
Those are all.
they're all existing. Okay. It's just now they're obtrusive. They stand out. So maybe I didn't notice them before, but you've answered my question.
Curb and gutter has a way of doing that.
Okay, it does. Okay, thank you. Leavenworth Port Authority discussion.
The Board of County Commissioners had asked that the county councilor prepare an amendment or in this case, it's basically a new agreement identifying who appoints members to the Leavenworth County Port Authority. We wanted to bring it back for discussion because we want to make sure we hit the items that the commission was looking for. I know in the past there's been discussion on maybe even expanding the Port Authority. That's not contemplated in here, so I wanted to make sure that the board had a chance to discuss that. But also what this does is, as written, would basically make the county the sole appointing authority to the Leavenworth County Port Authority without the review by the city that there currently is, and remove the city's appointment.
You answered that portion, but we didn't answer the financing portion in here.
So I believe this does call out in here that the financing is the county's responsibility. If we're the sole appointing authority, then we're also the financing authority.
Okay, because it said, like on purpose, on page 1, it said by the parties.
I think that it says that as we're ratifying this agreement to replace the existing agreement, and there were 2 parties involved in the existing agreement.
Will there be 2 parties involved after?
Yes. Commissioners, in 1969, a port authority was created through an agreement between the county and the city of Leavenworth. That agreement is still in effect. It has been modified or affected by some interlocal agreements. Under current Kansas law, if you were to create a new port authority, you would have to seek approval of the Kansas legislature before that port authority could become effective. If you amend an existing agreement, you're allowed to do that without approval or consideration by the state legislature. That is the course that I would recommend that you take. Otherwise, you would have to wait until next year's session of the legislature and present any proposed plan to them.
Okay, so
we could add members by amending this?
I would suggest not. I think if you add members, then it would probably be considered to be a new agreement and would require approval by the state legislature. The draft agreement that I presented to you provides for ex officio membership by any city of within the county, in addition to the city of Leavenworth, if they so chose to have a representative. It would be ex officio in that they would not have official voting capacity, but could participate in planning and discussion. I think if you were to add new parties, I think in all likelihood it would be considered a new agreement and require state legislative approval. We could seek an attorney general's opinion on that issue, and you would have adequate, I would presume, adequate time between now and August or September when you'd have to begin the process of having legislative review.
Okay.
The other option that you would be looking at if you wanted to expand it would be, as Mr. Van Paris said, if you wanted to keep the Port Authority, you would probably have to get legislative approval to do that. But you could create a committee that's different than the Port Authority, not using the Port Authority language in the state statutes to have an economic development committee of the county. Right now, there are only 2 port authorities that exist in the state of Kansas.
But hasn't Leavenworth sort of now become an ex officio? What special privilege do they have?
Well, there would be no specific representation approved by the city. It'd be all the county. So if the intent of the county is to, I guess, have representation from all of the communities, that's where the ex officio roles come in that Mr. Van Paris is discussing.
Mr. Chairman, members of this commission, I would point out in researching this matter and looking through the various iterations of the Port Authority powers that have been given or created by the legislature, you're not limited to using a Port Authority to consider economic development plans. As Mark pointed out to you, you could simply form your own, we call it an Economic Development Council. Invite all of the cities to be present. Invite any interested party or appropriate party as you designated, and you would be able to clothe them with as much authority as you deemed appropriate. Without calling it a Port Authority, you don't need the legislative approval. Now, the Port Authority legislation does confer specific powers to a Port Authority, but those powers are not exclusive to a Port Authority. So I think you also have the authority to consider more or less creating your own entity outside of the limitations that may be imposed by Port Authority.
Okay. Has anybody got any problems with this draft?
Well, you know, the members, you know, if the city wants to send somebody to represent the city, it's no different than if the public just shows up. They don't have any voting powers.
Right.
So it's not really.
Because we fund them, we should have the powers of putting the board members on.
Well, I know, but we just, you know, each city is not really represented here.
Right.
Well, that's going to lead to my next.
Well, I mean, Bob's got Easton, got Linwood, and got Basher, got Tongi in my area. Basher has a representative on there. But Tongi doesn't, Linwood doesn't.
Well, he's got Leavenworth.
Right, but he's also got a town out there, it's Easton. I mean, it has needs.
Yep. They all have needs.
They all have needs.
Yep. Okay.
They all deserve a vote.
So do you recommend any changes other than what David has come up with?
Would you guys be opposed to having a work session on it?
Yes?
You would? To discuss, you know, just set aside and have some people come in and meet and have a work session on it.
Now, you're retired after 35 years. Some of these people, you know, they're not retired. They're trying to fill in their schedule because they want to be involved.
I see.
Yeah.
Don't quit your day job, huh?
No?
No, okay. Well, I mean, if you're trying to get that job as a deputy, I mean, I don't want to interfere with that.
Thank God. I want that job. Yeah.
Be good
No,
at
I'm
it.
just wondering what we would gain by having, you know, are there other cities that you know of that want to join? And they can, you know, we can put them as ex officio rather than checking with the Attorney General to see if it's legal. We could always do that at the time if somebody said, hey, I want to be a legal entity.
Well,
Rather.
I'm
I
going
want
to
to
Linwood
represent-
tonight to the council meeting. I guess I can find out.
Yeah. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I might offer this comment. Ex officio membership sometimes, I think, can be perceived as window dressing only, in that you come to the table, but since you don't have a vote, why are you there? Well, I don't think that's how it practically works. As contemplated, Section 10 would allow the cities to basically present you or present the Port Authority with a member to represent their voice, to give them voice at the meeting. I would just state from my personal experience, if somebody's in the room and they're allowed to speak, provide input, that input is usually considered. So although the additional cities may not have a vote per se, they certainly would, as I said earlier, have a voice in the discussion, and I really doubt that voice would be ignored.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with that. Somebody comes, you know, Lansing comes with something, or Tonganoxie comes with a suggestion.
This invites them to the table.
Yeah. So what are we needing if we're going to approve this?
Well, we didn't have it on for approval today. We had it on
Okay.
for discussion because I wanted to make sure we addressed the issues that the board was primarily concerned with. We'll bring it back for approval, and we'll make sure and invite the Port Authority here during that approval process. But before that, we just want to make sure we had touched on everything.
Okay. Is that all right with you, Robert? Douglas?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
That's Port Authority. Anything to finalize before we adjourn this?
Tongi Days is this weekend,
Okay.
and Tonganoxie puts out a pretty nice newsletter. Very informative.
Okay, very good. Is this a free one that I can?
Yes, sir.
I can read that?
You can read that. Find out where your taxes go.
In Tonganoxie?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's.
Did
But
you
that's all right.
discuss your 147 or
McIntyre.
McIntyre, what you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, that was the
The,
entrances.
Oh, okay.
They really stand out.
Okay.
Looks like there's 10,000 entrances now. No,
There's not 10,000.
no, not enough room, but it.
I didn't break the law and go down the road.
God, I hated to, but I even did a turnaround there and didn't have a traffic accident. I was looking for a roundabout.
If you could get sworn in as a deputy, I think you could probably do that. Not have to worry about it.
Just put the light on? No, I still better stop.
Get you a
because-
uniform.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, you do have the option to seek pardon.
Well, okay.
Chairman can grant a pardon.
That's good, David. I like it. Okay. Anybody have anything to finalize? I got 2 items here. They all blend together.
I'm good.
I had written down cities and counties working together for long-range plans, policy, and budget. Do not want to return to the past. No micromanaging. That's what I hope that when Bob and I leave that we have taken care of. There will be no micromanaging. If you get 5 or you get 10 or you get 20 people on the board, there can be no micromanaging, no special interests. They can be brought up for discussion and change policy, but our job is policy and budget. And I would like to be able to leave a sign here for everybody to see that it's policy and budget. But are we proceeding forward, and how are we coming with that thought process? Because we were doing a study for sewers, roads, and
Yeah, the master plan for the county that was discussed, that is still part of the presentation for the budget. We'll have that in the budget. We've gotten some updated numbers on that, which are favorable, so we will be presenting that in the budget. The County Road 1 master plan or review is still underway, moving forward there. I think they still have a few months left before they have to have a report back.
because there has to be something. I don't like the word goal setting. What is the vision? What are we leading to? We leading to just houses, and I think Livermore County is a heck of a good place for homes. You're not going to get any 200,000 square foot businesses that I see. There has to be a vision. I know
There has to be a balance.
Well, yeah, but you're not going to balance Livermore County. It can be totally sold on homes. It is much cheaper to have a home and a decent living with the schools that we have, and we're working on the roads with that project. The balance will never be a 200,000 square foot building coming in.
No, but you're going to have some business.
Yes. Well, I realize that. I am a business. I have a business, and I know how much taxes I pay.
We need some more of you.
We need some more small businesses. But that's part of the vision. And blocking that out, there has to be a vision.
It's got to be a business that provides some jobs.
And I heard that said down at Leavenworth with one of the new commissioners. What is our vision? We repaired a road. That's not a vision.
It's maintenance.
That's maintenance. A vision is where you want to try to obtain in 5 years, in 10 years, where you want to go with roads, sewers, that development, business. You know, there's 20th Street, they're going to be putting in 100 and some houses and apartments, or multiple houses. They got commercial out there. I don't know what they're doing in Tonganoxie. Baser has some thoughts. Lansing has some thoughts. But you know, I realize there has to be a balance, but there has to be a vision.
That's what we're shooting for, I think, with our strategic planning.
I think we are. But are we getting together with the cities and saying, hey, you're just going to be doing your own thing out there? Or are we getting together and discussing, Mark and the city managers, all getting together and sitting down and saying, what's going to be our vision? You know, the county's doing Eisenhower. The county did McIntyre. The county did 147th Street. Do you realize, if we can't back up, that sales tax would have passed anyway without any of those things being done?
Probably.
And the industrial parks, that one
Probably.
part of it. All, so what is the vision so we don't have an industrial park here and one here and somebody saying, we didn't get one? What is the vision? Now, it's going to change because those administrators and managers aren't going to be there maybe. And the elected officials aren't going to be there. But there has to be something going where you guys sit down and say, what are our, because you won't have a vision and an agenda that's, I think, strictly for the county if you're meeting with the cities. I once had a very famous person tell me, and I thought it was rather interesting. What I talked to him in his office about, when I come out, I do the same thing. There's no change. So it's very important when you're talking to people that you have the same thought outside as you have inside. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have somebody tell you some good information. You think, I think I'll change that thought. So that is was written down on the bottom of my sheet. Are we going ahead with meetings and having people sit down and be open as far as they can? Because you still have to go back to their boards and say, this is what we discussed. What do you think about this, board? So I'd like to see that push a little more. But other than that, anybody got anything else?
Just,
Yeah.
do you still have that letters I gave you from the quarries that have passed out a couple meetings ago?
I don't retain that.
Huh?
If anybody's got it, Becky's got it, and she didn't keep it because I probably didn't give it to
I
her.
passed them around.
Yeah, no, I don't have that.
Okay, like I said, Tongi Days this week,
That's it.
and then you got Baser's got Dairy Days the next week, I believe. There's a lot of stuff coming up.
Now, don't you miss the dairy? See, you bring up a subject. I miss the dairies in Baser. How many people miss the dairies in Baser? Any of you? Do any of you remember the dairies in Baser?
Here.
Oh, God, I remember.
Well, yeah, I guess you, oh, yeah, that's right. You would be close to two. There was two dairies by you.
Yeah, God.
Walk up to the dairy right across from the post office at Five Goat.
Oh, you're talking about the Mussets, the water system, the milk in the cooler, and you dropped your money? Yeah.
Weren't those things great?
Yeah.
Lord. Now we don't have it.
Yep.
No dairy systems. No, they're all gone. Now we can all cry.
You could, if that deputy sheriff thing don't work out for you, you could open up a dairy.
I know
You
it.
could start milking cows for 7 days a week.
Oh, yeah. Praise God. Give me some good jerseys, all cream. Okay. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
You want to say one more time?
Oh, yeah, I do not support 18-foot wide.
There we
road
go.
ties. Never will.
Oh.
Too late.